Welcome to the Key to Growth podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you are in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success, starting now. Welcome back, everybody, to the Key to Growth podcast. I am your host, Jen McKee, and today, Cormier. I should have practiced your name before we started, but today I have Derek Cormier from Climate Experts, and I am really excited to talk with him because they have some really fun video strategy. If you've never seen, definitely recommend, but we'll get into all of that. So, Derek, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Derek Cormier. I live in Melbourne, Florida. I basically grew up in this area, and I started out as a police officer after high school. I was a police officer in South Florida for 5 years. My dad was a general contractor, so I grew up in the trades, doing a lot of different things. And after the police department, I did that for 5 years. I decided I missed the trades and I want to go back to it. So I went back to college at UCF for engineering, worked for an HVAC company, and then just went from there.
Okay, so your dad didn't have an HVAC business, but it was just like he did a bunch of different things.
Yeah, so he was a general contractor. So typically he would build homes from the ground up, do remodels, and we would hire subs that did HVAC, plumbing, and electric. And I learned from him, if you go into this, you're going to want to go into a specific trade because it's just more ability than just being a GC.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay, so of course, this podcast is all about marketing. And I already mentioned your video strategy, which we're definitely going to get to. But so when you took over in 2016, like we weren't doing short form video. So you were able to double your business annually since then, which now is going on 10 years. So you had to have had some great marketing strategy from the very beginning. So what did the beginning of Climate Experts look like?
Great question, Jen. So I started with a lot of grassroots strategies. It really came down to networking and who you know. So I joined the BNIs, I joined the Melbourne Chamber of Commerce's, I made sure that I was at community events, and I also made sure I networked with other contractors. So I had a pest control person that was in attics that would find, rodents that ate ductwork, and they would refer over to me. I made sure I found a plumber that would refer HVAC to me. So I made sure I made those really good connections. And then I really made sure I took care of my customers and I got referrals from them. So I paid them money for referrals and I took really good care of my customers. And I also gave incentives to the new people that when I would come to their home, I gave them a really good deal on a tune-up. So it was just getting in the doors of more customers. So I needed a really good entry deal to get in the home. So I started out with a lower service call fee just to get in the door and a really solid tune-up that differentiated me from all of the other contractors there. So right off the bat, I needed to figure out what differentiated me so that I had a selling proposition to the customers. So that's really where I started with the grassroots. And I think in the beginning, I didn't do a lot of digital. I didn't do a lot of Google PPC. I didn't really do a lot of print media as well because I thought it was dead, even though I ended up doing it more later and it worked really well. So a lot of it was just person-to-person referrals, a lot of physical work that I had to do. And then do you want me to just speak on to what the next steps were?
Okay, well, let's wait. We'll go there. Yeah. But I think that you said some really interesting things. So I talked to a lot of different people and a lot of people talk about the importance of being involved in community events. One thing I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is those mutual referral relationships, which I think is like super, super smart. And I know just in general, like people at all levels of their business are listening to this. And sometimes it can feel like relationships aren't enough or networking isn't going to move you fast enough. And like, I disagree with that. I know that that's the fastest way to move a business. So I love that you were able to achieve such significant growth with that being your focus and like literally nothing else. And because you can tell people that all day, like yes, you need a website. Yes, you need a social media, but like that isn't necessarily the first thing that you need. Like you need customers. And then like once you have customers, then you really need all of those things. But I love that. That is really great. Okay. So you started then getting customers. And at this point, you probably were building a team. Were you still only focused on HVAC at that point?
Yeah. So I started with one truck in 2016, just me. And like I said, a lot of it was off relationships. I didn't really start hiring my first employee until 2019. I was pretty stubborn.
That's a long time.
It was. I wanted to prove to the world how tough I was. I was the installer. I was the salesperson. I handled the phones.
My gosh, I cannot believe that.
I worked a lot. And if I did it again, I wouldn't do it the same way. I missed out a lot of time with family. And by 2019, I hired one of my first employees, and that was an office manager. And then when that happened, I started to get more into the marketing strategy. We had, a website. We established our social media. media. We did some Google PPC and some Yelp. And the marketing strategy kind of started around that point. And I did a rebrand around that year where I started with Climate Experts with a penguin that just was like a simple drawn out line penguin. And it was not that great. And I looked into Dan Antonelli and he made some amazing brands. And I said, I want to have a brand like that. So I created my own brand off of Fiverr and I made sure, no one had used it, wasn't trademarked. I got the original. We kept recreating it and making it better and better and better. And it was first a penguin that was kind of like heavier. And then I'm like, no, I want a jack penguin with muscles because I want to differentiate myself. And so the original brand was Climate Experts Air and Heat, which was just HVAC. And we rebranded with the big wraps. They were blue and red and dark navy. And then eventually in the future, rebranded again because I got my plumbing contractor's license. And that was about end of 2023, we rebranded as Climate Experts Air, Plumbing, and Electric. And that was the point where we changed the colors a little bit because the blue and red were the traditional hot and cold, and that didn't really differentiate ourselves. So you can see I got the yellow and the
this is
teal.
like your brand. So you never ended up working with KickCharge. You just took all of his.
Yeah.
I mean, you did a good job. Like, I think that some people have a marketing knack, and I definitely think that you do. And so I think that's helpful. But I love that you still look to his expertise for what you did. Because I mean, you did a good job, and you guys have a nice mascot, and it makes sense, and like your colors stand out. So kudos to you. Sorry, Dan. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he's great. I would very much recommend that you go with him
100%.
because it took a lot of work and it would have been easier if I had just went with him. So I'm not
Right.
discrediting that at all.
Try to do it yourself when
Yeah.
you could just have help. 100%. Okay. So, well, I know that you have a marketing person in house. I know that you've worked with marketing consultants, even outside. So I know that you invest a lot in your marketing right now. So was it just kind of like a gradual lead up to like, we need more support and I want to keep growing bigger? Or like, how did you get to that point?
So I think I do things a little bit differently on the marketing side than some or most contractors. I think a lot of contractors try to get one big company to handle it all. And the reason why I don't do that anymore, because I tried that. I tried getting the big corporation to do Facebook, PPC, print, mass media, and I did it a few times and it never worked. They kind of held you hostage. And I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to try a different way. So now I find experts in a specific marketing field. So like you specifically are amazing at social media. So my social media person, and then I have somebody for organic SEO and web development and hosting your website. So that's a specific person for that. I have a specific person for Google PPC that just does that. And I found that you can hold them accountable to their specific type of marketing and get those metrics really aligned. And then if it doesn't work out, you don't lose your entire person that's handling your marketing. And speaking of the CMO, we have a chief marketing officer. Her name's Amanda, and she's got a very diverse marketing background. Now, I came out of the field as a technician. I'm a contractor. I am good at marketing, but I don't have as much experience as Amanda. She is like a consultant to me. So weekly, we go over numbers. And again, she's kind of a separate entity. So it's not like they don't own any of our Google PPC, any of our social media, anything. So she comes in as a third party, and it's nice because she's every week evaluating what's working.
Yeah, I love that. And you made a really good point. And I mean, there definitely are a lot of people who are looking for a one-stop shop. And there's a lot of people, what you do, especially people that we work with, because I think if you're investing in social media at the level that we provide it, you probably have a very diverse like marketing plan. But I love that allows you to really see exactly like what's happening in each thing. Because if you have just like a marketing company who's doing everything, then they could be like, look, you got, 50 calls last week or whatever, but you don't know where they're coming from. If it's like LSA or PPC or GMB, like what are these calls coming from? So I think that's a really great point on why diversifying your marketing team. I mean, besides the fact that of course you can hold them more accountable and switch them out as you need them, but I think really being able to dial in on your results is a huge advantage to that.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's talk about Chili. So Chili is your mascot. I know lots of people have mascots. I don't know if a lot of people have like mascot costumes. So is he recognized in the community? Like, tell me about him.
100%. So I like to have fun at work. Obviously, if you've seen our social media, you could see I like to have fun. We're professional, but we can also have fun. So early on, when we made this mascot digitally, I told myself I was going to find a place that would make a costume. So we did. And then I made this giant Climate Experts patch for him with his name, Chili.
Yeah.
And we make sure that we bring him to all of the local events, that like we were in Christmas parades. You see Chili like waving at all the kids, and he'll give out like little stuffed animals. So So he's very well known and he's got a big smile. Sometimes we'll go outside of our shop and we'll wave at people and they'll honk the horn. But it's interesting because this will happen a lot too. And I never expected it. We'll get phone calls from people that aren't even our customer that will just drive by our shop. And we have these phone calls where it's like, I just wanted to let you know that your mascot is awesome. Like, I just feel good driving by your shop, just looking at your mascot. Like, it's like,
That is so
thank you
cool.
so much for being located there, because like, it just makes me happy to look at this jacked penguin with this big smile, and like, it just, makes them feel good. So
Oh, that's so cool.
it's a cool differentiator too, because, like we'll be at events and there's other HVAC contractors, and I believe in supporting the trades. I'm not a big competition guy, but I want to encourage other companies to do fun things like that too, because it's going to be good for their employees. Like, and they're going to have more buy-in and they're going to just feel better at being at work, rather than like the typical white shirt. You don't even know the company name. It says white truck. You're just like everybody else. Everyone's going down the same standard. So I just believe in raising the standard.
Yeah. So let's talk about your team. So you have an apprenticeship program. And I think that obviously marketing comes into attracting the right people, but then I think also everything that your team does is also a part of your reputation and your marketing. So talk a little bit more about when you started that apprenticeship program, what the goal was kind of behind it, and how you guys attract the best people to work for you.
So right after I hired my first employee, 2019, I started that apprenticeship program, and it's been developed over time. It's actually called Climate Experts Academy, and it is so much more developed than it was. We actually have developed a program. We have online content. We have little practice shops that we work on with them live. It's so much more developed, but we don't have anything like that in our area. We don't have any great trade schools. I don't have anywhere to pull from. There is a community college that has a program, but it's really not great. And that's what I've been told by a lot of applicants. So in our area, there's a lot of experienced people, but they aren't necessarily the right culture fit. And believe me, I learned my lesson early on that just hiring someone with experience that doesn't fit the culture is going to be eventually pretty toxic. And after I learned my lesson, I said, I'm not doing this ever again. I'm going to hire a culture fit that fits our core values and our mission statement, and I'm going to train them. If the magical unicorn comes in with experience that's a culture fit, yeah, of course we're going to hire them. But that's not something that we can plan for, and that's not as realistic, because there's just not as many people in this skilled trade in our area. Like, we don't have that pool to grab from. So you know what? Let's plan for the realistic expectations that there's going to be someone with no experience that's going to be a character fit, and let's get them trained here and let's get them really prepared. And that has worked out so well for us. I mean, we have employees that have been here over 5 years that we train with zero experience, that have so many certifications, that are making so much money for their family. It's just amazing to see. And that's always what I wanted for the trades. I didn't want people to feel like they had to go to college after high school. I wanted them to feel like they could be successful as soon as they graduate without college debt and get into a trade. And we pay you while you're in that apprenticeship program. You get paid a good amount of money.
That's so cool. So, I mean, that sounds like the answer to so many people's problems. Like, and I love that you said that you just like started it immediately, because that's totally how I think. And I think some people are really scared to do something like that. Well, I don't have it figured out, but like, this is what we're going to do. And I know it'll grow into something better, but this is what we need. So, like, was that your mindset around it? Or like, how did you even think, like, I'm going to start an apprenticeship program with one employee?
It's funny, you kind of just described me. I'm typically the person that implements things really quickly and then makes a lot of mistakes, but we get to the finish line typically a lot faster than other people. And that's exactly what my mindset was. My mindset was, okay, I have an issue. I need skilled labor. I need people to do jobs, and the pool of talent just isn't working out. So, the easiest thing for me was I already had all the technical skills. I just needed to train people. So I had to make a realistic plan of being able to run calls and still do this training, of how can I do it today, not make this giant plan of this school of these unrealistic expectations. And by creating academy, I don't run calls and make revenue. I had to make a realistic plan for today, and I just need to implement something and move forward. The goal is just to move forward. So in that first year, we trained, I think in that first year, 2 or 3 apprentices that ended up doing really well. And then every year right now, we'll probably bring on 20 to 30 apprentices this year.
Dang. So do you like train for other companies at this point? Like, are people then getting another job?
That's actually pretty hilarious, because it's known, and that's the biggest reason why we get applicants at our company, because they know we train. So they're leaving other companies because no one's investing training in
Oh,
them.
yeah.
So we'll get some companies that are like, they'll send their people here strategically to try to get them back, and hey, we're going to send you to Climate Experts first to get trained, and then you'll come back here. And typically we can realize that pretty quickly. But in the future, I would like to have a dedicated academy that isn't so involved with our day to day. And I would love to train other people for other companies, because again, I don't look at it as a competition. Like, I really want to give a better experience to the customers and to employees. employees. So I'm completely open to that in the future. That'd be amazing.
Right. That's super cool. Okay. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I want to talk about your social media. So, like, totally transparently, I do not, and I've never done the Climate Expert social media. We've run ads for Climate Experts, but this is like Derek and Angela was working on it. And I know that she also uses the calendar that we put out, which I love. And I can see that sometimes in y'all's content, which is great. And another thing about the Climate Expert social media, because I'm about to get to video, which is like a big part of it, but is you guys still do so much in the community. And that's such an important part of social media. And that makes a big part of what performs well for you guys is all of your community events. But let's talk about video. So when I met Climate Experts, they were working with a local videographer who would have some super fun ideas mixed along with Derek and literally like storyboard these things out. So I know that there's all different ways to do video, but this is like a big process. So when did you decide to really like invest in it at that level?
So I think the beginning of 2024 was really when we invested into that. And I don't think we got that videographer until March or April, if I'm really remembering correctly. So, and in the beginning, I was definitely worried about being on camera. I'm not naturally a person that likes to be on camera.
You
So
couldn't tell that now. Like
yeah, I mean,
I feel like you're very comfortable.
now it's fun. Now I feel better about it. But in the beginning, it was really tough. I didn't want to do it. And I listened to Gary Vee, and Gary Vee just talked about just always be putting out content, even if it's
Yeah.
not perfect, just consistent. Like you got to be consistent with it. And I was like, okay, that's my goal. I'm just going to start. And those meetings were long. They were a lot. I think when you jumped into those meetings, I think it really helped because in the beginning, my expectations were, okay, let's just make videos that we get engagement. And it would be a little bit too far out there. And then you said to me one meeting that, like, is this for your customer base? Like, is this the thing that they're going to receive? Like, I could see this being received for maybe some recruiting, but what's your goal? Is your goal for recruiting? Is your goal for bringing in more customers? And like, what's your ideal customer base? Are they going to receive this really well? And I think I shifted it a bit to take more feedback because I was fully going more into my plan. And that's why it was really great. We had those strategy meetings where we had 4 different people in that
They were fun.
meeting, and everyone's
Derek
got
kept
different
giving
ideas.
me a thumbs down on all my ideas.
Nope. Yeah, we had the video meeting and I would have like a pen in my hand and it would just do the auto thumbs down with AI. And she's like, are you
Every time
thumbs
I would
downing my
say, every
idea?
time I would give a new idea,
Yeah.
like you
I'm
should do
like, I promise.
educational.
That's not me. It's the AI.
No, that was good. And so just to give a little bit more context, if you go back to Climate Experts, and I love that you said that like you just started doing it because that's really like step number 1. Like there's no reason to try to do it perfectly or figure out exactly what it needs to look like when you first get started. You really just need to like hit record and hit post and like not overthink it. And when Derek brought in this videographer, he was really creative. And together they came up with some really fun, creative skits, which is like taking short form video to another level. Like now we're not just like creating something on our iPhone and posting it, but this was like a scripted out skit that was really like relatable and funny and kind of like it was something they were based on things that people would know, like the Golden Girls, MTV Cribs, and like these really fun ideas. And what I specifically said is that they were doing a lot of like men in wigs. And I said, as someone who consumes a lot of social media content, that's not typically the type of content I consume. And so that was really the switch of like, oh, right, like maybe this isn't what women are seeing. This is probably more of like what men are seeing. So we can make that adjustment. And one of your next videos was the dancing video, which was really funny. And like, I don't know, maybe you went totally in the direction of what women see on their social media.
Yeah, that one, it was funny. I didn't expect to get as much from that. It was probably one of the best producing videos. And it's funny. I posted that on LinkedIn and that's not really meant for LinkedIn. It's just a funny dancing video. But I literally got one of my best employees from that video. Another contractor saw it, said they had an employee leaving, coming to my area. I called him within 10 minutes of her watching the video. He was hired probably within 3 days. And this was an experienced tech with like 10 years experience. He's killing it. So I was like, oh, wow, maybe this video worked.
Yeah. When we talk to people about the ROI on organic social, attracting great recruits is a huge part of it. And video is like what does that. So I love that you have that direct example of how that happened for you.
And I mean, some advice for maybe if you're starting out with video, I think we did overcomplicate it in the beginning. We don't use that videographer anymore. And we realized through kind of all the work that we put into it, how much we were getting from each video. Like we put like hours into this video and we wouldn't really get that much out of it. And now we do it in-house and we figured out a way and we can produce videos so much quicker and we actually get more engagement out of them. And we're not overthinking it. Sometimes it's just you try something out and you see how it works and then you develop it. And I don't recommend you go crazy into that videographer and spend all that time, because it was fun, but a little bit of wasted time when now that we've got it down in house, like it's so seamless now. We can create a video in 20 minutes.
Yeah. And I just want to point out, I don't think Derek means wasted time having worked with him. I think he means in the whole production and recording process, because I think you probably learned so much
I
from that
did.
experience on how to come up with some fun ideas.
And he was great. And he was amazing. That wasn't it. It was just all about, what's working for the time that we're spending,
Yeah. And I think to your point, like I know some people who are like, okay, I want to do video, like I'm going to get this person, and then they batch create all these videos. And you're right. Like those videos, like you have to figure out the best use of your time. And sometimes it's better to just record them, edit them, post them in the moment. And sometimes you might get to a point where like, this isn't working for us anymore. We actually we need to build a set. We need to record 30 videos in one day and then have those go out for the whole month. So you get to different places in video. But Gary Vee, I know so many people in the trades have had the opportunity to see him speak in the last couple of years, which is amazing. He's always been a mentor of mine because the way his approach to social media and in video is something that I take, which is like you just have to put content out there. That's the most important thing, is getting consistent with your content.
100%.
Okay, so let's look at like overall. So what is one of your like biggest marketing challenges that you faced in this last 10 years?
So I'll give you something that we're facing now that we faced even mid last year to the end of the year, kind of being the election year. Was before 2024, it was a lot easier to get marketed leads for HVAC, where people were shopping for new equipment before it broke.
Mm,
And we're seeing now is that's not really as much of a trend, that people are more calling to have things repaired and trying to keep it going for longer. So people are maybe calling for a tune-up instead of an estimate to prepare for that, or calling for a service call if something's not working. So, where we got those marketed leads and people were calling for those, like buy a new system for $19 a month, we weren't seeing that work as much as it did before. So we really had to shift our strategy to just get in the door. And that's
yeah.
where, by me adding other trades like plumbing and electrical, and we get so many leads from the other trades that, that we
Ooh,
turn
that's
over.
so good.
And we just have to be a little bit scrappier with that. And that's why we're in Home Depots. And a lot of people talk a lot of stuff about Home Depot. We're in 3 of them. We price each call accordingly, so we make the same amount of profit on Home Depot. And we have our own lead gens in those stores. So we're creating our own leads from those Home Depot stores. And people are always in Home Depot. So
Okay, you got to tell us more about this Home Depot thing, because this is
yeah,
a big thing.
it is.
Even
Yeah.
the other day, my husband was like, "Look, Home Depot does HVAC." So
Yeah.
I'm super curious. Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great because there's a lot of different opinions here. So we are partnered with 3 Home Depots in our area, and we are the exclusive HVAC company in those stores. So it's basically Home Depot Home Services. And if you go into a Home Depot in our area, you'll see one of our lead gens, and they are wearing a Climate Expert shirt, typically with a Home Depot apron on. So let's say you book a tune-up with one of our lead gens. We are going out there as Climate Experts, the Home Depot home service provider, but it's all on a Home Depot contract. So you can pay for it with a Home Depot credit card. Home Depot's backing the warranty. So if anything happens, you're getting the support of Home Depot. So if you've ever bought anything from Home Depot and it was broken, you go to return it, they just take it. So Home Depot is really good with customer service and support, and also the marketing power of Home Depot. So like
Right.
they have special finance plans that we don't have access to. It's actually a pretty great program. And I think it gets a bad name because they require their own special paperwork for contractors. So there's more steps.
Hmm.
And then Home Depot does take a piece of the pie. So they get a percentage of every call that you do. But
Yeah.
what we do is we just build that percentage into the pricing. And you might say to yourself, well, why wouldn't a customer go just with you at Climate Experts rather than Home Depot if it's going to cost more? And it's because that doing business with Home Depot, if they're not going out of business, you don't have to worry about that. You get their customer support, you get their financing. If something goes wrong, you can call us direct or you can call Home Depot. Like it's going to get taken care of and it's going to get done. So it's actually a great program for customers and for contractors if you handle it properly. If you don't handle it properly and you have the wrong expectations, it's a terrible program.
Okay, so are these your customers? Like you can then market to them afterwards?
So no, these are Home Depot's customers. We can market to them as a Home Depot home service provider.
Okay.
But
Can you like put them in any sort of like membership program with you, or you can't sell anything like that because it's like a little bit different?
Home Depot has their own membership and we can sell them a Home Depot membership, but we're still getting paid for that.
Okay,
So
that's cool.
yeah, and we now do plumbing for those stores in Home Depot. So not only are we getting HVAC, we can cross that lead over into plumbing. So it's still revenue. It's just a different model. And they're still going to get on a membership plan and we're still taking care of them. They're still getting the same quality. It's just
Yeah.
a
And
little bit
it's still
different.
your name, which is interesting. So
Right.
that's very, very, very interesting. And it's a really great way to, it's like a collaboration that you're doing where then you're able to leverage the customers that are already in there for your services. I love that. Only thing I wish is if you could just like keep them and market to them.
I would love that as well.
But that's still awesome. It helps in this situation that you're facing right now where people are a little bit tighter with the money that they're spending and what they're investing in. So that's a great solution.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that there was like a specific marketing investment or decision that really stood out or like was a turning point for climate experts?
Yes. So we do a business planning workshop every year and we do a marketing planning workshop every year because we want to be strategic with where those marketing dollars are going and we want to make sure we have ROI.
Mhm.
And there's some things that make ROI difficult, branding, for example, like, social media branding, it's
Yeah.
like, how can you attribute ROI? So I realized was sometimes I think contractors are going after new customers too much. It's like new customer, new customer, new customer. And it's like, no, take care of the customers that you have already. So our call center does an amazing job of making all of our customers feel really important and taking really good care of them. So 60% of our revenue comes from existing customers, not from new marketing, because they already know they want to do business with you.
Yeah.
And they're going to buy more stuff. The closing rates are going to be higher. The average tickets are going to be higher. Like I said, already know they want to do business to you. So like if you offer more services and it doesn't even have to be outside your trade, you're going to have more opportunity with those customers and we forget about them and we make them feel not important. And I would focus on that list first. And here's the thing, like you could spend money on PPC, all different types of marketing avenues. But if your call center is not locked in, you're going to lose that lead. You're going to waste money on that. If you can't even support that with the people that you have and you're wasting leads, it doesn't matter if it's working well and it's bringing you in leads. If you're wasting them when they come into the company, your marketing budget's going to be super high. I mean, our marketing budget, the most it's ever been was 6.5%. And we've doubled every year with the marketing budget at that or lower because we take care of our customers and we don't overspend.
I love that. You've mentioned a couple times about like adding new trades. And I love even the idea of like adding additional services. Like we work with multiple HVAC companies and sometimes we're confused on like, do they do duct cleaning or not?
Yeah.
Like what is it? And we had one client recently who was like, no, we always get asked about it, but we don't do it. It's like, it seems like it seems like that could be a good thing to add on. Like there's a potential revenue right there for you. So I think that's a great advice. Like take care of your current customers and see how else you can take care of them within your wheelhouse of what you're already doing. So love it. Okay. So as we come to an end here, there's a question that I ask everybody and you've kind of answered it a couple times, but I do think everyone always surprises me with their answer. So the question is, what is the key to marketing growth or what is the key to growth?
I would say you need to have realistic goals and understand what you're trying to accomplish. And with that as well, knowing your customer base is extremely important because how do you know how to get those customers if you don't understand them? And then where are they at? Are they on their phones all day on social media? Are they driving? Like don't spend money on a billboard if there's no one's looking at the billboard. Like spend money in a smart way, on the tactics that are going to work and eventually you can get into billboards. But I would say understand your customer base, understand your goals, make sure they're realistic, and then focus on where those customers are at and then market to them.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. So if somebody wants to find you and climate experts, where should they go?
Yeah, I'm on all the social media now, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's just at the Derek Cormier. And then for climate experts, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well. And that's at Climate Experts INC or at Climate Experts AC, TikTok and Instagram.
Awesome.
Or I'm on LinkedIn too.
Yeah, LinkedIn, YouTube.
Yeah, we're there too.
All the places. Well, thank you so much. I think that this was super, super insightful. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.